another episode of Being Me is Dope, where we have therapeutic conversations to help creatives feel seen and heard. I'm Nate.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Shayna Yvonne.
And today, we're going to be talking about quite a few things, honestly. So Shayna is actually amazing. She's my actual real life therapist. And interesting
I
enough,
didn't think you were going to say that. I thought you were going to keep that a secret.
no, okay. I do not care at all. Nah, ain't no shame in my game.
Big on transparency.
Super big on transparency. That's my superpower. But this is actually our first time in person
In person.
meeting. We were doing a lot of work via Zoom.
Yeah.
Which was powerful via Zoom. You know what I mean? So I can only imagine in person. But it's been amazing so far. She's incredible. The work that she does far exceeds just a therapy practice. So really quick before we jump into it, do you mind giving the people a little background about yourself?
Absolutely. Like I said, my name is Shayna Yvonne. Shayna Yvonne Rudd, heavy on the Yvonne. I say that all the time because Yvonne is my, I believe she's the leader of my spirit team, my great aunt who passed away. And she was a great teacher and probably one of the saviors of my life as a child. So I always tell people Shayna Yvonne Rudd. But yeah, I am a psychotherapist. I graduated from the illustrious, prestigious Howard University.
The real, what they say, the real HU?
The only HU. Let's be clear. Hampton is HI. Anyway. And I started a nonprofit when I was 19 years old called the Lady Diva Program, which has now been transformed into the Legends House, where we work with girls and women who deal with depression and anxiety through the arts. And so doing that work for so long, I finally said, okay, I need to get credentialed. And so in 2018, I finished the University of Pennsylvania, my master's in clinical counseling, and I went directly into private practice. So I never went and worked for anybody. I graduated in May. I started my private practice in September, and I went full time by January. And so it's been a whirlwind. I've worked with A-list people where I have to sign an NDA. I've worked with, right now today, just coming in, I just came from Mathematics Civics Charter School where one of our students was murdered over the weekend, and I'm doing grief therapy there with them. I'm there every Thursday, and the majority of my caseload have had major high-profile murders here in the city. So I've worked with just the spectrum. And I'm grateful. And I'm also a professor now at the University of Pennsylvania where I graduated from. So, and then I'm a doctoral student. We were just talking about that. I leave that out. I'm a doctoral student.
Say all of that.
I'm
We need all of
trying
that.
to finish. I'm trying to become a doctor so
got
I
it.
can just break every generational curse. And I say that I come from, my grandmother never learned to read or write, had an undiagnosed mental health issue. And, you can't be Black and mentally ill, okay? Especially when we're talking about Jim Crow South. We're talking about during the Great Migration. So my great-grandmother, they migrated from Warrenton County, North Carolina, here to Philadelphia. And she kept my grandmother in the house, never let her go to school. And one of those times she went out, she was raped. My father was conceived from that rape.
Wow.
And I am her grandchild. And so I used to try to teach her how to write her name. And so when I say break every generational curse, I come from a woman who never learned to read or write, and I'm in a doctoral program. So I have to finish. It's deeper than just school. It is about tearing down dominions and curses that were assigned to our bloodline.
Wow. It's way bigger than you.
It is. I have to
way
remind
bigger.
myself of that when I don't want to turn in assignments.
Come on. I know I know what that feel like. It is way bigger than me. That's how I feel when I'm in school and I'm like, man, I'm ready to. It's a wrap. And I'll be doing the math in my head like, if I miss this assignment, am I still gonna pass?
Yeah, like carry the one, add the two.
Right. I be doing all of that. So yeah, let's dive into it. So when she said A-list, I'm not the A-list people.
No,
but
you are.
I'm on the list.
And
I'm on the list.
wait. I brag about him. He doesn't know this. I was like, I have a client. He's like a TED Talk. I say it all the time. He speaks all over. I can't give his name. That's too much information. I do it
Say
all
my
the time.
house.
I really do.
That's
I do. I'm
amazing.
very proud of you. I'm
Nah,
very,
thank
very
you.
proud of you.
I'm grateful. So let me ask you this, because you shared so much in regards to what you're doing, in regards to breaking generational curses, in regards to the trauma work that you do. How are you taking care of you?
I sleep a lot. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I play a lot of, I don't know if you guys know this song, Let's Start the Dance by Bohannes. It's so old. It's like, come on and do it. Come on and do it. I heard it this morning. It's an old 70s song, and the Lord speaks to me in through music. So this morning I woke up and I heard it like getting up out of my sleep, and I was like, "Oh, this is the song that's going to carry me through." So I played that on the way into the school, and when I left the school in my car, I just like literally blast the music and just dance because you have to get that stuff off of you. It's called secondary trauma, where you're sitting there and you're literally taking on that person's trauma. So I sleep a lot of times because my body is exhausted. There are times when I can't move. And I know now, when I first started to practice, I didn't know. I thought everything was me. Like if I got a cold, if I couldn't move, I would be like, I'm just so sickly. I need to take more vitamins. And I'm like taking all the vitamins. It wasn't that. Trauma manifests itself in illness a lot of times. It manifests itself in fatigue. It can manifest itself in uncontrollable tears. So I let myself fall apart. When I need to rest, I'll go home and I'll put on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. That's what I've done this weekend in the rain, and I'm not even watching it. It's just on, and
I'm so
I.
glad she said that. My wife be watching. I'd be like, bro, what are you doing?
It's not. It's
But she
about.
said it's like
It's
mindless. Just
mindless.
yeah, yeah.
And so I just let it run. My daughters tore up my entire house. I didn't care. I just ate really good food. I talked on the phone with people that get it, and we can talk about anything, but they get it. They know I'm calling because I just need to like be in a
Yeah.
nook. And so that's what I do. I dance. I play a lot of soul music. I delve into artists like Alice Smith. I'll just watch her performances on YouTube on a loop because I just think she is just a force. And I'll watch documentaries. Right now, this Tupac documentary, Dear Mama, on Hulu has me in a chokehold. Choke hold. It's by far the best work I've seen on him and his mother Afeni.
Really?
Please check it out.
Okay.
Please check
All
it
right.
out.
Got that recommendation.
Yes.
I'm gonna definitely check that out. You said something about like trauma manifesting in the body. I know what that felt like. Have you ever had like something where it was kind of on you so heavy where you felt like physically you just couldn't do much? I know I've had it a bunch of times. I can even pinpoint moments.
I mean, yeah, because we talk about this a lot. But the stories that I was telling myself, it like made me shut down in a sense. Cause I would get in my head a lot, and I just be like, yeah, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I'm just gonna sit here and just live in this depressive state or this bad mood. So I do that a lot because I tell myself, well, I used to tell myself bad stories all the time. I never looked at the good stuff. I always just acknowledged the bad.
It's interesting. I did it very similar. But something else you mentioned was just letting. You said like letting yourself go. So that's where my kind of tension is.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, I need to get up and be productive. I'm still trying to find the balance of like, just go ahead and let it all out today,
Yeah.
and just have one of those days where you just chilling. There's nothing going on. You can release. You can cry. You can fall apart if you need to. I don't know why it's so much tension there.
Well, you're also an entrepreneur.
Also entrepreneur.
So, when you're responsible for making your own dollar, when you're your own boss, rest feels like it's a crime because
Yeah.
you know what I
Feels like a
mean?
prison.
And if I'm being honest, I don't think I started to rest until I started to get other contracts. So when I wasn't only doing my private practice, because I used to work 7 days a week because with my daughter on my hip when I first started the practice. When I started getting contracts where people would bring me in, do speaking work, consulting work, um, then I had a nest egg and I could breathe. And then I was like, oh, I have multiple streams of income now. So I don't have to kill myself doing all this one-on-one therapy. So I think a big part of that that's to be discussed is like that the social entrepreneur, like, can you rest? Will you allow yourself to rest? Especially when it's your job to pay all the bills from your gift.
And what does that rest look like?
And what does it
What
look
does
like?
rest look like? Because all right. So I think I told both of y'all. Probably in the therapy session. I know I talked to you about it, but when my long story short, I wasn't feeling well. I thought I was just sick. Ended up passing out. Long story short, it was from exhaustion from overworking. Ended up in the emergency room, hit my head on the tile. They thought it was COVID, thought it was the flu, but it was none of that.
Yep.
And then it was like, yo, you need to rest. And I was like, cool, bet I'm gonna put rest in my calendar. And then when I got to like the rest point, I was like rest doing what though?
For real.
Like what's rest? You know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure it out. I'm flicking through the TV. I'm like, this ain't working. And that was a real like challenge of like, how do you rest? I think that's a question that a lot of people should ask themselves. Like, okay, you're resting, but what does your rest look like?
The life hack that I've noticed is that my rest often looks like what I did as a kid for play. So I'm a trained ballet dancer and an artist, much like you guys, creative, and so resting for me is about whatever will allow my brain to relax. So when children come to us in trauma, we do something called play therapy with them, where we color with them, we'll chase after them, but we're allowing them to what? Be children. What that does is it allows the brain to relax, and then it can actually heal itself. Adults have to do the same thing. So like I said to you guys, I'm putting on Bohannes, I'm cranking up Janet in the car, and I'm dancing, I'm visualizing myself on the stage as I'm driving to the next gig where I have to look like this. I get to be completely myself as an artist, but that's who I was as little Shayna Rudd at Philadelphia. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense.
So the work is, how do I give myself permission to go back to being that child again when I have all this adult responsibility? Because it's about permission.
Yeah.
It's about being like, okay, I'll allow myself to do that. And then I've noticed that oftentimes we fight against the very thing we know we need.
Why is that though? Like, why do we fight against, like, you know what you
know
need,
it.
but you won't, like, why? Is it because of fear of judgment or?
I want to say, for me, I'm speaking about myself, it is a form of self-sabotage.
We just talked about that.
It's
That was
a
a
form
whole.
of self-sabotage. When you know it, like when you're clear, like what I really need to be doing right now is meditating. What I really need right now is water, and I go and grab Pepsi. Like it's a form of self-sabotage.
Feel convicted.
And we all do it. We all do it. We all do it. But then you have to ask yourself, well, why am I punishing myself? Why am I sabotaging? Why don't I want my highest good in this moment?
But it's like you do, but then you don't at the same. Like that's Oh my gosh, that's a lot. Because like you know what you want, you want it, and then you go against the grain to put yourself back in the cycle of self-sabotage. And it's like, when do you stop this? When is enough enough? When is it enough pain to be like, all right, I'm done? You know what I mean? Or are you just that comfortable in the mess and the chaos? And I'm speaking just personally, just talking to myself, like, all right, when is this enough, fam? Like, when are we going to stop doing this self-defeating, behavior? That's a lot. And something else I'm thinking about is the rest factor. I was equating rest to laying down on a couch, doing nothing. But I actually I feel free, and I feel like my mind is the most relaxed when I'm outside shooting a basketball.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's totally different.
I'll be at the courts by myself for hours just shooting around. It's like my mind is just free. And if I'm hearing you correctly, that's a form
That's rest.
Right.
There's a difference between rest and sleep. That doesn't mean that sleep can't be rest, But I think too often we think of sleep as opposed to like rest. What's going to make my spirit at ease? What's going to be rest for me is also prayer.
Same.
Like and I don't want to be well, I have prayed and fell asleep, but I've prayed and fell asleep because I've
Because I was
entered into
rested.
this place of rest
Said,
and I
"Man, I'm
got
so
so much
comfortable."
peace. I done got comfortable and went to bed,
What was we talking about?
right. But sometimes I think that's what God actually wants because he has to contend so much with our anxiety,
And
to
there's so
eat.
much to be anxious about.
Right. So I do think that we confuse it. I think rest can be being on your couch, but that may not be rest for you.
It's actually uncomfortable after a while. For me, it's just I feel like my mind is racing more sometimes when I'm trying to force that kind of rest.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, where's my phone? Go ahead.
Nah, for me, that's why I really love going to the gym because like we have active minds as creatives. We can't just sit here and rest. Our mind is going to start racing, so we have to force our mind to think of something else. And like for me, that's the weights. Like I'm in the gym, I'm like I better not drop this on me. But now I'm resting because I'm focused on something else.
And I've had very clear thoughts, either running or working out in some form, or playing basketball. Like
So we
very
got
clear.
active
Where it's like, yo, let me
minds.
go grab a notepad real quick, and them thoughts are just super clear. And I'm thinking about just creative specific. I feel like everybody's a creative, but people who call themselves creatives, and you get into creative entrepreneurship, like you said. Now it's like, okay, this is what pays the bills. How do we still find that time for rest or fun without making the craft of what we do such a job where it becomes like I don't even feel like doing this anymore because now it's I've just given myself another job. I'm not even
Right.
enjoying that. So how do we I guess my question is how do we kind of balance that to where because a lot of people, they're artists, they're creatives, they're dancers, they're poets, you have musicians, all these different things, but now it becomes work, it becomes stressful, it becomes another thing that I'm anxious over. Where's the balance? Like, how do I balance this out?
I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking about Whitney Houston and I'm thinking about Prince and I'm thinking about Donny Hathaway and I'm thinking about Phyllis Hyman and I'm thinking about Basquiat and I'm thinking about Miles Davis and all these creatives who did not have a balance on their trauma and their creativity and how they overworked themselves, they got to fame, but many times ended up self-medicating to maintain that adrenaline and oftentimes died without a will, died without money. There's stories of like, I think Louis Armstrong died and someone had to bury him because he had no money. Um, and so I think like there is a dance around being a creative and having a healthy mental, like having mental stability. And we don't see that enough. And so I think that I had a really good friend say to me, none of this will work if you can't work. Like if you die, who's going to take care of Soul, my daughter Soul? And who's going to run this program for the girls if you die? And like all those prophecies and speaking engagements and all the stuff that people have spoken over your life, like none of that's going to happen if you die early and only you can kill you. Like you're unstoppable, but you can be the person that tears this whole thing down. And that kind of stuck out to me. And I started to become less and less afraid of not making the rent and more afraid of like perishing or being so depressed that I was like a fraud in my work. So we got to figure out the balance is do I want to do this authentically? Or do I want to risk this because of money and because of this? Like, you'll get the money back.
Right, right. That's the part right there.
You'll get the money back. I wonder, like, I study Whitney Houston guys. Like, I study it. It's also going to be part of my dissertation, but I watch a lot of the documentaries, and I'm always like, she just needed a break. Like, she just needed, like, a year of nothing. And it's the same thing with Kanye West. Like, from what I understand, Kanye goes into his episodes because of his diagnoses. He's running all the time, like, not sleeping. And then that triggers him into an episode. So for Whitney, she gets triggered in an episode. She's doing drugs. You know, for Kanye, I feel like sometimes his drug is just like out there, just speaking, just saying anything at times. So it's like they just need rest. They probably needed real therapists they could trust, people in their camp that care about them. So I think to answer your question, it's just like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because in order for you to work, the work you're doing, you have to have a self-care program that allows you. You're taking what you just shared with me about all these people coming up to you, secondary trauma. You're taking all of that stuff on. So you're going to have a very balanced life, family, solid, anchored life in order to do what you're doing.
And you can feel that too when you said that secondary
trauma.
It's like a weight.
Yeah.
Like it feels heavy. I remember going back to the hotel room afterwards and just kind of sitting there for a while. And then I think we prayed and then we just kind of got something to eat. And I was like, I'm really tired. Like, I'm super. And then we had to drive back to the airport and I asked Les, I was like, yo, can you just drive?
Yeah.
I'm just kind of kick it right here and just look out the window. And we just drove. We was eating burritos. He was driving reckless though. I said, you know what?
Thank you
Next
for
time,
driving him.
Right. I'm saying next time I'm gonna go ahead and just, I'm gonna drive. But I remember what the weight of that felt like, and I'm thinking about so many creatives that I know personally, who are they're in that phase of like the hustle, and now their art and the integrity of their art is kind of decreasing because now I have to get this money, and that's like the mantra of like the USA. It's like I gotta get this money. Get this money, and it's one of those things where it's like, do you have? And I shared this on the call once. It's like, do you have enough faith to rest?
That part.
Like, do you have enough faith to be like, okay, it's going to work itself out. Let me rest so I can bring myself fully to the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't have enough faith to rest.
No.
You know what I mean?
Not at all. There's a sister out there, her name is Siobhan Smith, and she has this mantra that says, I work for God. And that was something else that helped me, was like, I literally work for God. He literally is the person who takes care of my bills. I am employed to be me because of him. So that means the God of abundance will take care of me. So me laying down for a day out of all these, like, what does, like,
Right.
like,
what we
how
talk
is this?
about?
What are we really talking about? And so that is about the faith to rest. But it took me, like I said, I ain't gonna lie to you. It wasn't really until I had other streams of income where I started to see how foolish I was when I was working the practice with the baby, just single mom, and oh my God, it was horrible, and I was always sick.
Wow.
Always
It's because you
sick.
were just running.
Yes, always sick. Always sick. And I don't think I came up for air until 2019. Like homecoming, Howard homecoming.
Wow.
2019. And I was like, wow, this is what it feels like to go outside. Yeah. And that's a part of it. I mean, we do have to work hard. So I don't want to act like that's
no.
not.
Hard work is.
It's inevitable, but there has to be balance.
There's hard work, and then there's the overworker.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That just overdoes it, and you feel like you gotta outgrind or outwork the next person, the next creative for the opportunity. And it's like it's a plethora of opportunities. You just got to get in alignment. That's really what it is.
You gotta set some boundaries too within yourself.
Facts.
Yeah.
Boundaries are huge, especially with people who have close access to you, like family sometimes. Yeah. Like you got to set healthy boundaries, and what I've realized for me is that makes some people uncomfortable. Yeah. Some people don't like it, but at the expense of my health, it's like you're going to have to figure it out.
Can't have access.
I'd rather you be upset with me
Not
than
right
me
now.
mess around, pass out again. So which one you want?
What you want?
Right, which one you want. So that's going to be what it is, 'cause I'm going to choose me. Like Kendrick said, I choose me, I'm sorry. It's going to be what it is. I wanted to ask you this because you talked about dance. And you said, when did you start? Like doing?
Oh, goodness. 34 years ago. I was 3.
Wow.
I know. It's my longest relationship.
How'd you get into that? Because that's not common for young black girls.
Well, you know what? At that time, we're talking about 1988. We had Joe Myers Brown, living legend Joe Myers Brown, the founder of Philadelphia School of Dance Arts in Philadelphia, and she created this space in the 60s, and she just welcomed us black girls in. You know, if you were a black girl in that time in the late 80s, early 90s, and you were artistically inclined, you were either at Freedom Theater or you were at Philadelphia. And so my mother was like, we can't afford Freedom Theater. She thought I really needed to be at Freedom, but she sent me to Philadelphia, and it was life-changing because then Joe Myers Brown kicked the door in, literally, at the Pennsylvania Ballet and took 4 of us, little black girls, over there and said, let them in the program and put them on the brochure. And I had a full scholarship until I was 16 years old at the Pennsylvania Ballet. So I did the Nutcracker. I did all of the ballets that black girls aren't supposed to do. And so I got into it because my mother said she saw something. I think she said I knocked somebody down in preschool in the show and like took the mic and like was real. And she said she
Had a whole
dropped her
moment.
head and was like, it's either, so Karen Pendergrass, that's Teddy Pendergrass's wife, told my mom, like, either she's going to give you hell or she's going to be a star. So you're going to have to figure this out now. And so I'm still close to her to this day. Shout out to Karen Pendergrass and everyone from Philadelphia. It was a black, rich world of dance. Culturally, just we were always ahead. And Joe Myers Brown, she's in her 90s, who's still with us, she didn't play with us. She trained us to be better, work twice as hard to get half as much kind of thing. But she trained us for life. So
Wow. Shout out to them. I didn't know that. That's actually
Yes.
incredible. And that
Yes.
opportunity to have that's really life changing. Like
It was
very, very
life-changing.
valuable.
Yep.
Wow. That is amazing. So
You want to hear something funny?
what?
Most people don't know this. I'm actually a professional ballroom dancer.
What?
Really?
I trained for 12 years. Yeah.
Trained?
Yo, get your man.
I swear.
For real?
Yeah. Like I never tell people that I got trophies at the house.
Trophies?
I don't tell nobody. Yeah. I'm so serious.
What does Renaissance Mike not do?
What?
Where is he gonna say something
Why
about
are you
this?
telling anyone this? Why is this just coming out?
You know we got to find
just don't
footage
tell
now.
them.
Like it got to
Yeah,
be
there
something.
needs
You
to
want
be
trophies?
footage.
It's footage.
It's footage.
You know I'm on YouTube later.
My
Like
mom
I
put
gotta
everything
find.
on Facebook.
Oh yes, let me follow mom's account. What?
That's so cool.
Now that's dope, man. I mean, I don't have nothing that exciting. I did gymnastics for like a year. You know what I mean? I can do a backflip. That was about
You can do a
it.
backflip.
I don't know if I still can, but I
It's
used to.
nothing like a black boy that can do a black backflip. That's like a hood
That's like-
Yeah, we
staple.
learned that in the hood. It was like, yo, where the mattress? You flip
It
off
was
the gate.
one little black boy that could do a backflip.
And it was
You
nice.
it was you.
Yeah, there's no hands, all of that, off the fence, off the roof. It's like I'm not that risky no more, but I knew how to do all. They put me in gymnastics for a year, and I don't know why they took me out of it, but I was having fun. I guess it wasn't the thing to do where I was from, so we just took me to basketball, and that's where I landed.
That's
so,
where you landed.
but all right, so I want to start to land the plane really quickly, but I want to really pass the mic to our guest, and I want you to share a word to the creative. And when I say the creative, it's the person who is, you know, day to day working on their craft, developing themselves, but at the same time they're struggling, you know, mentally, emotionally right now because it is hard. Inflation is happening. There's a lot of different pressures. We have social media. People feel like their art isn't good enough as
Yeah.
compared to others. And I want you to share, if you can, a word of encouragement for that person who's definitely going to be watching this.
Yeah. To the creative, my brother or sister in this beautiful, beautiful creative life, I want you to first know that God gave you your gift to heal you. That's the first thing. So many people are looking for the medicine, the antidote to feel better, and it's actually your gift. Now, if you're beginning to hate your gift because now you've had to merchandise it, it's time to put the gift down for a second and tap back into you and get back to what made you fall in love with it from the beginning. But I'm going to take this even down to a more vulnerable level. If you are creative, you feel things deeper than other people feel them. You probably are what they call an empath. You probably walk into a room and you can sense how everybody feels. Yes, I'm sorry. You probably can sense how everyone feels. You probably carry a lot of that and you use it in your art, but you may not know how to get it off of you. So, first things first, I'm hoping that you're bathing, and I'm being really honest. I'm hoping that you're brushing your teeth every day. I'm hoping that you're eating. I'm hoping that you aren't using drugs and sex and things to cope. I'm hoping that you find a space for freedom that is healthy, even if it's outside your art. I want you to know that if you're feeling like you don't want to be here anymore because it's all just too heavy, that we need you, that we value you, that you're seen, that you're heard, that you're felt. Like I can feel it right now. And I plead with you, please remain with us. Remain with us. I know it's not easy. I know that you want to take off and it may not be happening the way that you saw it happening, but it's going to happen the way that it needs to happen. But first, you have to be good. You have to be aligned so that your work can really, really fly. So from my heart to yours, please take care of yourself. Please hold on. Don't leave us too soon. Too many of us creatives leave here before our time because our art weighs us down. Stay lifted and know that you have a sister in me.
Wow. Received that, felt that.
Beautifully said.
Wow. So, man, that was beautiful. I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Being Me is Dope, where we have these therapeutic conversations to really empower creatives, to help you feel seen and feel heard. My hope is that you gain some value from this episode. I know I have personally. My hope is that you would apply what you've gained. And then also my hope is that you would begin to just really take care of yourself.
Yeah.
We need you here. We love you, and we want to see more of you. So with that being said, I'm Nate.
And I'm Mike.
Shayna.
And this has been another episode of Being Me is Dope. We love y'all. Until next time.